Well, hello, wealthy women. It is Coach Tamara here. I have really a very beautiful and touching success story to share with you today. This is a woman that is just so passionate about animals, and the animals are passionate about her. In fact, she has a way of communicating with these beautiful creatures we're all blessed to share this life experience with, and she is able to basically be like the animal whisperer, and she helps animals that have a little distress maybe, or just need to change something in their behaviors. She's amazing, and I know that you're going to love this success story. So let me just pass it over and have her share her interesting work, what she can do for your pets and animals, how she can be of service to you. And then she'll go ahead and share where you can find her so you can learn more. So Paloma, please take it away and tell us all about your amazing work.
Well, thank you very much, Tamara, for having me. My name is Paloma Baertschi. I'm an animal communicator and life energy consultant for animals. And I've been doing this work for over 20 years. I basically use telepathic animal communication. I have been able to help thousands of people and their animal companions, and I'm so happy. I live the life of my dreams. I do the work that I love, and I'm getting paid for it. So that's amazing.
I mean, that's the dream. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you can find me at Species Space. That is SPECIESSPACE.com.
Perfect. Speciesspace.com. I love this. So can you share a little bit, like, how did this whole business and passion and idea start for you? What was some of the background that all of a sudden you knew this was for you and there was no other path and you were determined to take it?
Well, it was a key encounter I had with a horse in summer 1998. And, as a child, we actually all have this, this ability to communicate with animals. And I really had a very good relationship with animals when I was a child. Animals were doing things for me they were not doing for their people. And adults used to ask me, how have you done it? What have you done? And I just said, well, I talked to them, and I thought adults were talking to animals as well, As a child, you don't know better. But then I grew up, and I noticed that something changed in the relationship with the animals. I had no clue what it was. And then in the end, I thought, well, maybe adults are just different to children, and that's the way it is. But then I had this key experience with a horse in summer 1998. I came back into the barn from a horse ride with my companion, Leomi. As I put him back into the paddock, nobody was at the barn at that time. And I went back to the car. And when I was at the car, I heard somebody saying, stop. And I mean, I froze. I knew there wasn't anybody there. And when I turned around, I thought, well, maybe it's the neighbor who wants something. But there was nobody there. I just could see one of the horses that was standing next to Leomi, looking at me very intensively. So I got the feeling I had to go back to the paddock. Then I got the feeling I had to turn around the corner. And there were two barrels that were usually filled up with water, but the two barrels were, just on the ground, and the horses didn't have any drop of water. And so I put up the barrels, filled them with water, and this horse was actually looking at me and observing me. And I thought, well, it might be thirsty. But then when I had filled both barrels up, the horse came, put his nose in one barrel, didn't drink, put the nose in the other barrel, didn't drink, looked at me, and I heard a thank you. Now, I was there my jaw dropped. I didn't know what had happened. I just knew something had happened. And so I went back home. I thought, well, I have to tell the story to somebody. I couldn't tell it to my then husband because he wouldn't have understood it. So back then, there were email groups, that was before social media and forums and all that stuff. People came together, and formed an email group, and then they exchanged emails. And that was our social media back then. So I was in an email group, and we talked about natural horsemanship. And I thought, that's the group to tell the story. Most of the people there were from the US and Canada. And I told the story there. I didn't expect any reactions, but I received answers. And the answers were like, oh, the horse contacted you. Oh, the horse communicated with you. Oh, that was animal communication. I was going like, what?
Like, wow, this sounds fun and exciting. Tell me more.
Yeah. And all of a sudden I knew that was the missing link. That was what I had when I was a child, and I must have lost it, like everybody actually loses it.
The childhood magic.
Because it's like a language. It's nothing else like a language. And if you don't use a language, you sort of forget it, So when I came across animal communication, and then I researched the internet. Even back then, you could do some research on the internet. I came across Penelope Smith, who is a pioneer in animal communication. Penelope already said back in the 70s that she was talking to animals. So I ordered all her books and her cassette tapes, those relics. Cassette tapes. The younger generation probably don't know, what cassette tapes are. It's like, yeah. But I studied animal communication on my own for 2 years, and then Penelope came to Switzerland in the year 2000. I took her courses, and from there, everything. I mean, it was clear for me from the beginning, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Wow. What a beautiful gift. There's so much that I can share and say about this. First of all, I know we all are just so in love with our animals, our little fur babies, no matter what type of species they are. We sense that animals have that innocence just like children do, right? There's that innocence that is not affected typically by the world, unless of course there's a bad situation for whether it's the child or the animal, then there is obviously some negative effects. But that ability to communicate is so obvious. It seems like it isn't obvious, but it is obvious. And any of us that have had animals in our life know that there's such a communication between tone and body language and eye contact and sensing, like when your animal knows you don't feel good and they come over and sit next to you. This kind of communication is so rich, full, endearing, beautiful, innocent, and to be able to have made a passion career out of such a beautiful, I mean, I think so many people would love to be doing what you're doing, and they know that this is a beautiful gift. And you have a special gift because there needs to be that calm innocence and connection of love and safety for that animal to feel comfortable with you. And I just think that this is one of the most beautiful career paths I've ever heard about. And I love that you just knew it. You just knew it, and that was it for you. There was nothing to look to the sides about. You were on your mission. And now I guess I just wanted to understand. So you can let us know some of the services. Like, can you give us an example? Let's say for dogs. so many people are dog lovers, and we know that there are dogs that people adopt, say from shelters, that maybe had a bad beginning and they're a little off and they need some help. How would your work, and I just want to point out that you can help anybody all over the world. They don't have to be in person with you. So
Right.
share a little bit, like if you're in Switzerland, but share if someone from New York called you and said, I have this dog that's really acting up. How can you help me? Can you share a little bit about like what your process would be,
Yes.
especially with an
So,
online community?
yeah, sure. So, first of all, I need a picture of the animal with the name and the age. And if the age is not known, the approximate age, that's okay as well. So, and then I can, through the picture, I can take contact with, make contact with the animal. But I usually do the communications with the animal and the person at the same time. So we would have, for example, a Zoom meeting
I love it.
where
Love
where
this.
I maybe even could see the animal on camera, but I
Yeah.
still want to have a picture because I take contact with the animal before I contact the person, just to introduce myself and say, look, we're going to have a talk and learn a little bit about the animal, and then I contact with the person. The person needs to have written down their questions and what they want to say to the animal, and then we just have the conversation.
That's
And it's
amazing. Like,
and I can I mean, you can talk about anything with an animal, really. I mean, it might be, if, like you said, an animal from a shelter might be traumatized. I can talk to that animal and then see through the questions, get to the root of maybe that problem, because most people really only treat symptoms, and
mhm,
that's not the way to go. Sort of, oh, my dog is barking, I want my dog to stop barking, what can I do?
right.
And then they do some silly things to stop the dog from barking. But a dog always has reason why it barks, and barking is not like barking, so it also depends. You have different types of barking. And by the way, I'm also a certified dog trainer, so not
I
just an
love
animal
that.
communicator.
There you go.
I learned with Turi Trugas. So um yeah, so really then you have to identify, first of all, why is that dog barking? What is the dog trying to tell you? And then, maybe the dog is afraid and it barks because it is afraid, or maybe the dog barks because it sees somebody walking down the road, and the dog thinks it's his responsibility to tell you that there is a person walking down the road. But if you tell tell the dog, oh, thank you very much for barking, and that's actually something people usually don't do. They don't thank the
That's
dog for
true.
barking.
That's
They just say, shut up.
instead of good boy, good girl, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Instead of saying,
Mhm.
oh, thank you. Oh, I've seen that person. Thank you very much. I take over now.
Yeah.
So really take the responsibility away from the animal and make it your responsibility that the animal notices, oh, okay, my human has noticed that everything's okay.
I
That's a
love this.
completely different approach.
Yes, it really is. And it sounds like it comes down to the typical communication we should all be doing, whether it's for animals or children or each other, where we listen instead of talk too much. We hear, we acknowledge, we validate the emotions, and then we come and say, thank you so much for sharing. Now, let's find a good solution to this, right? It sounds like this gentle conversation we should be having across the board. And there is such truth in how the senses really kick in, because when you think even about a child, of 2 years old that has not doesn't have all the education yet to even understand. They understand tone. They understand sensing that this is a safe space. gets all communicated. And one of the things that I really I had mentioned to you before, but it was really apparent, was a show that I saw in which the goal was to get the horseshoe off of the horse. And it was a challenge for a group of women. And any woman that went up and was afraid of the horse or just had unresolved issues, that horse, without words, sensed it and would not lift its foot up because it sensed the other person's aura, feelings, just the whole thing. And it refused to put its foot up to get its horseshoe removed. Then the trainer talked to the person and said, listen, you need to relax. The horse is sensing your anxiety, it's sensing your fear, all the things, whatever it might have been. So the person did their best to do breathing exercises, a little meditation to put themselves in a better state. They went back to the horse lifted its leg immediately. So for anyone who has a doubt that there is the ability to communicate with animals, no. In fact, it's probably easier to communicate with an animal than a human.
Sometimes it is, yes.
So I just love this, and I am sure that you have been able to help so many animals and bless others with, a new and improved fur baby and just all the things. And I just really want people to, we all are so very soulful and we love animals. And I just love this work. And I just really want to go ahead and mention again, if you can, your site one more time so people can reach out to you.
Yeah, so it's speciesspace.com.
Love it. Love it.
Speciesspace.com. All one word. Species
I
Space.
love it.
It's one word. Yeah.
Great. It's a great name. All species, right? Okay, so now what we're going to do is have a little round of success questions, and these go into, a little bit more about the mindset and, certain things that you do every day to keep you on your path to your goals. And we do this because we know that if it helped you, it'll probably help another woman in the pursuit of her dreams and goals. So let's see. So we really covered the first question, about your big vision and, your passion work. So the next question I want to ask you is, how has this work empowered you personally? Like, how has this made your life just magnificent? I know that you spoke a bit to it, but maybe one more time, what is the biggest thing about the work that you do that has empowered you?
It's really the feeling to know that I can help so many people and so many animals, and that I'm just here to serve, really. I'm here to help people expand their consciousness. My goal is really to get people to see that we can and we should communicate with animals on an eye level.
Yes.
They're not here for us on Earth. They're here with us.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. Keep going. Love that.
So I have learned so much from the animals. I want other people to learn also a lot from the animals. So I love teaching this. I don't just communicate with animals. I also teach people how they can communicate with their animal companion. And I remember one day I asked my dog Nebo, how is it that animals can love unconditionally and people have such a hard time doing it? Humans have such a hard time doing it. And his answer was, we don't blame anybody. When we are in a situation where we don't want to be, we ask ourselves, how on earth have we put ourselves into that situation? And I thought this was so deep. And the funny thing about it was, many years later, I was in an event, like have another mindset event and so on, and the person speaking actually said exactly the same thing. Stop blaming people, stop blaming your environment. And I go like, oh, I heard that before.
Oh, that actually gave me tears because it's so true about the unconditional love of animals. Like I love this. And you just also mentioned like it's a double blessing because not only are you able, your work helps animals, but you help the people that have the animals and their life gets a major up level of joy, basically. A joy that childlike beauty and wonder and innocence where you can imagine running through the fields with just total arms out, smile in the sun, joy, like your little girl in you, right? This is that ability of what that tender communication between an animal and the person, this shared double blessing. It gets people back to a sense of that happy joy, one of which is stop blaming the world, just own your beautiful life and focus on the gratitude, right? And an animal can
Right.
help you bring that in. Yeah, I
And
just
take responsibility for your life.
yes, exactly. It's amazing how this really spins into all parts of the whole life experience. So like beautiful. I love it. The next question I wanted to ask you, obviously you have just such a joy business, a joy passion, joy life, and empowers you in so many ways. Why would you encourage another woman to build their own business and for the sense of empowerment? Like, in, how would you suggest that she just go for it and empower her life like you've been able to do for your own?
Oh, that's the best thing somebody can do, really. I remember, I think I have to go back a little bit
Mm-hmm.
to really get to the point where I decided for myself, sort of, watch me. and
Mm-hmm.
and that was, I was about 17 years old, and I was having an argument with my dad. And I told my dad, look, I'm out of here when I'm 18. And my dad said to me, huh, and how do you want to live? Where
Mm-hmm.
does the money where does the money gonna come from? No, forget about it. I'm paying this, I'm paying that. You can eat because I'm paying for your food. Now, as long as you are here, you do what I say. That was sort of his thing. And I actually, said, okay, good, fair enough. I can't move out when I'm 18, but nobody is going to say that to me ever again. No man is going to say that to me ever again. I'm going to be an independent woman. Watch me.
Fantastic answer. I mean, you're like the role model for my business. I mean, this is exactly what I live for. That's empowerment of women to have their independence so they're free to make the choices they want to make and live the life they want to live. It's everything. And and we have to train ourselves with this mentality. Watch me. I can do this. I will do this. It's my life and I will make my dreams come true. It's the most important thing. So this was a fantastic answer. And I'm sure there's many people that can relate it, whether it's, a dad or a mom or a husband or a friend or a sibling, whatever. Somebody in somebody's life have said, yeah, that's kind of a silly dream. And you can either go and let that define you and not get up, or you can get up and fight for your dream. And please get up and fight for your dream. It's your life.
Oh,
They're
definitely,
doing their
yes.
life, right? Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, so on that front, then a woman starts to go for her dream. What would be your number one tip for her to grow their business, especially in the beginning?
Take risks.
Mm.
No risk, no fun.
I love it, right? Yes, no risk, no fun. That
Yeah.
is so true. This is so true. And I also find I find a lot of business owners there is a risk. They have a ability to take those risks. We're a little bit of a rebel and a maverick, all of us as a combined whole. So that's to our advantage, right? And then I always also think that it's kind of one of those things, like if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. So what's the worst that
Right.
can happen? You lose a little money, you waste a little time, but on the other side, what is the good that possibly can happen? So just go for it, and know that even if it turns out to not be the greatest choice, you'll learn. There's no
Yes.
failure. There's just either a learning lesson or an up level, and you'll figure it out. And yeah, no risk, no fun. So have
And
fun with the business, right? I love
and
that.
I think the most important question somebody can ask themselves is what Einstein said, actually. You have to decide, do you live in a friendly universe or in in a universe that is not friendly, in an unfriendly universe? So what is your belief? Do you live in a universe that is friendly, that actually looks for you, that the universe has your back?
Hmm.
Or do you think everybody and everything is against you? And you know what? You're right. Either way. So you decide how you want to look at things. The way you look at things is very, very important. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
I love this. And it's so very true. And this kind of goes into that whole energy essence, which, at the root of your work, I mean, is the root of your work. Basically, when you communicate with animals, it's that energy you're projecting, right? And that's being reflected back to you, which is the same concept of the universe, God, spirit, soul, whatever you want to call it. That is the whole of it. Really, it is how you are experiencing life is what you're putting out there, and therefore what will turn to you. So this goes right into the whole energy mindset manifesting topic that we all really know in our hearts that this is it. And it's all those divine downloads. Like, for example, like when that in the very beginning, I think you said you were 17 when the horse said to you, stop. That was
No,
a
no,
divine
I
download.
wasn't 17 back then. That was
Oh,
1990. That was
sorry. Yes. But the whole idea of
when I
that,
talked to my dad, and I
that's right.
sort of
Sorry.
decided back then,
Yes.
I have to live a life that makes me independent.
Exactly. But I just like when that horse, you heard stop, he needed water. This was that energy, that divine download, that soul connection. And so I love your answer because, yes, exactly. We have to be really aware of the thoughts that we think often every day. And so then on that note, then one of my next questions I always like to ask is, how do you get in touch with your energy, with your good spirit, your, you know, manifesting powers? What is the routine that you use to do this, and how often do you do that?
Well, I the first thing I do every morning before I even open my eyes is smile. I mean, really, put a smile on my face. And it sounds silly and easy, but I can tell you it's not.
Yeah.
It's not easy. At the beginning, it wasn't easy at all. And the thing that happens when you put a smile on your face is it's actually a mechanical thing. You press on a certain muscle, and that muscle presses on your brain, which then starts to release happy hormones. So you start the day on a good foot, actually.
I I love this. And that's very interesting that you say that, because ever since I was a younging, I always was reading the self-help books, the self-growth books. And I don't remember where I read it, but it kind of is this concept that you're talking about. And they said take a pencil and put it, between your nose and your mouth, so that you have to hold the pencil in place. And in order to hold the pencil in place, you go into a smile structure, or else the pencil will fall, right? Frowns won't hold it, a smile will hold the pencil. And it was this exact concept of, acting as if, kind of, like you psych yourself out. But I didn't realize that the actual muscles press on something to go to your brains and release the endorphins. So that's really excellent, right? Yeah.
Right, yeah. And then I
I,
use gratitude. I mean, gratitude is the key to, I would say gratitude is the key to success, really. Be grateful for what you have, say 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 thank you for everything. I once made a challenge where it was uh, say 100 times arigato, which is the Japanese word for thank you. That was a challenge by Ken Honda. He's a great man, about money and money management. And, he's the Zen millionaire, I think he's called. So he had this challenge, 100 arigatos a day. Now, say 100 times thank you every day. Now, that's funny. I ended up having more than 100 per day because you start seeing everything, you start looking out for things. What can you be grateful for? Oh, I'm so grateful I have this kitchen cupboard where I can put my things in, And I'm so thankful and grateful for the running water. Oh, I don't have to go and get my water somewhere. I just open, the tap and there it is. I'm so thankful for everything. My fork and knife. I don't have to eat with my hands. I mean, you find things you are thankful for. If I need 100 arigatos.
I love this. I love that challenge. Let us all do this challenge. I am a big believer in gratitude. It's really how I run my life. And even when the things that are a little tough come up, I'll say, okay, this is not happening to me, it's happening for me. What is the good that I can find in this situation? And of course, that gets a little bit more challenging depending on the actual situation. But it's such a great mindset to always be looking for the good, look for the flowers, not the weeds, right?
Right.
Because you're going to find both, whatever you choose to focus on. So focus on the flowers, right? Exactly. I love this. Let's see. So I would say that you absolutely believe in manifesting. And so, can you give an example? Let's say there's one thing in particular that you really want to manifest, something that physically show up in your life, whatever it might be. Do you have a process, like an actual, like, a goal, a vision board, a repetition, a meditation? How do you, when it's a specific thing and it will take a certain amount of time and then you will achieve it, how do you go about that? Goal setting, manifesting
Okay.
visually.
Yeah. I love manifesting, actually. I love manifesting. And the most important thing is really that you set yourself into the vibration of the thing you want to have or attract or whatever. So feel like it's already happened. That's the most important thing. And maybe I can give an example of how I manifested my apartment I live in right now. I actually wrote a letter to myself saying, I'm so happy and grateful now that I live in a 2.5 room apartment where there are no stairs because I had my older dog. She's still with me, by the way, almost 20 years old.
Wow. Beautiful.
And I didn't want her to have to walk any stairs. So I thought there are no stairs, where there is a nice garden that I can fence so my dog can go in and out as she pleases, where people don't walk next to your door when they come in and out of the house, and so on and so forth. So I wrote every single detail that I want to manifest. I wrote it down. I wrote even down the price. It's very important as well. Write down the price that I want to pay for the apartment. So I wrote it down, and then what you do is the following: you read it every morning before you get up, because then your brain waves are in an alpha state. In order to visualize, to have in visualizing, you do in a alpha brainwave state. If you do visualizing in a beta brainwave state, it's not going to happen. And we are usually in beta during the day. And most people are even in high beta during the day. That is, stressed and anxious and stuff like that, And we have a healthy beta, but we have then the high beta, and most people are in high beta. So if you start visualizing there, it's not going to happen. You have to be in the right brainwave. So early in the morning when we wake up, we are usually in alpha. So you read that every morning before you get up, and you feel it. You see the apartment in front of you, but not just visualize it. You have to feel it. The feeling is much more important than the picture that you see, because we're talking here about energies. And the heart, the energy that the heart puts out is 5,000 times stronger than that of the brain. So that's why it is important that you really feel what you want in your life. So then read that every morning, feel it as if you already are in that apartment. And then before you go to bed, you're usually tired. Okay, so then you start slipping into another brain wave as well already, and then you read it again. Before you go to bed, you read it again, you feel it, and then you go to sleep. Now, what happens is your subconscious mind starts to process all that during the night. Okay, now the next morning, you do the same thing, and you keep doing it until you have manifested the thing. It took me 10 days to manifest this flat.
Oh, fantastic.
From the moment I wrote that letter. And I had been looking for an apartment for 3-4 months. And then I thought, you know what? I could write that letter. I'm teaching that. I'm telling people to do that. Come on, yes. Paloma, you can do it yourself. So I sat down, wrote it down, started to read it. 10 days later, I signed the contract.
I love this. I tell you, this interview is just packed with the whole way life works, basically. I mean, I have a couple more questions, but it's not even necessary because you have managed to answer the exact systems and formula for a joyful life. That's the most important, and joyful equals success. And so I am just so grateful for this interview. It is beautiful. Everything that you said, the gratitude, the manifesting, the energy, the connection, the not blaming, the taking responsibility, from taking risks and trusting, and just all the things that you mentioned today. It's just perfect. I am so thankful for this interview. This is going to inspire so many women. And I just want to say thank you so much for your time and your beautiful work. And please, women, reach out to her. She is just amazing in all manners of life. And I know that you will just be as blessed by her that I feel. So, Paloma, I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing these wise words of wisdom and, just basically how to have a very, very joyful life, which is what it's about in the big picture.
Thank you very much for having me.
I appreciate it. So, okay, wealthy women, I know that you will love this beautiful, inspiring interview. So, I look forward to sharing this interview with you, and please communicate with me, Paloma, get back to either of us, and just have a beautiful day. And don't forget to go for your dreams. You got this. Bye for now. I just put my glasses on so I can see.